Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Monday, June 30th, 2025, and this is your AM update.
They're all going to get socked by another $2,000 on average every year.
GOP senators race against the clock to pass President Trump's big, beautiful bill by July 4th.
Domestic violence isn't being charged. If it were, he would have pled guilty to that.
The defense concludes its closing argument in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial as the jury is now set to begin deliberations. And the Bezos Sanchez star-studded wedding met with hundreds of protesters. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM update. Tax Network USA is ready to proudly celebrate our nation's birthday, honoring freedom, resilience, and financial independence. To mark the occasion, they are offering 10% off all services through July 4th. If you are dealing with back taxes or you missed the April 15th deadline, don't wait. The IRS is rapidly stepping up enforcement. Penalties can add up quickly, up to 5% per month, maxing out at 25% of your total tax bill, just for not filing. And that's on top of what you already owe. But here's the good news. Tax Network USA can still help you turn things around. Whether you are self-employed, run a business, or your books are a complete mess, their team knows how to cut through the chaos and find solutions that work. Your consultation is always free, and getting ahead of the problem now could help you avoid harsh penalties, wage garnishments, or surprise bank levies. Call 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. That's 10% off all services through July 4th as part of their celebration of our nation's birthday. Regain control of your finances with expert help from Tax Network USA. The Senate GOP clearing a key procedural vote late Saturday night, narrowly approving the advancement of President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill Act in a 51-49 vote. Republicans aiming to pass the bill by a self-imposed July 4th deadline. The bill makes the 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent, increases spending on border security, and implements a host of other campaign promises, including no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. Indiana Senator Republican Jim Banks Sunday on Fox laying out the urgency of extending the 2017 Trump tax cuts before they expire by the end of the year.
Remember, this is a tax bill. This is about taxes on working class Americans. And if we don't pass this bill, these Americans will get such a big tax increase. They're all going to get socked by another $2,000 on average every year.
Republicans who are touting the bill point to generational reforms on Medicaid, including imposing work requirements on able-bodied adults. Democrats have used this to accuse the GOP of cutting taxes for the rich while taking away health care for the needy. Republicans counter it reins in the bloated expansion of a program under Presidents Obama and Biden that is supposed to be for the truly needy. Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen on changes to Medicaid within the bill.
What we're doing is cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse, and I want to use that word abuse, out of the Medicaid system and make sure it's for the people that it was originally intended for. Keep in mind, right now, there's 35 million people that live under the poverty line inside the United States. Yet there's 70 million that's on Medicaid. Yeah. Now, it's unsustainable. Medicaid was designed for those in the most dire need, and that's what we need to make sure it's there for.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer attempting to throw a monkey wrench in Republicans' push to pass the bill by Independence Day, demanding the full text of the nearly 1,000-page bill be read aloud on the Senate floor, a time-consuming procedural maneuver aimed at slowing momentum. If the bill passes the Senate, the House is required to wait at least 72 hours before voting on changes made by their Senate colleagues. Republicans are using a special process called reconciliation to pass the bill with a simple majority, meaning only 51 votes are necessary, so no Democrat support would be needed to pass it. Republicans control the Senate 53-47. Senate clerks began taking turns reading the bill on the floor just before midnight on Saturday. Alabama Senator Republican Katie Britt explaining Sunday morning on CNN what happens once Senate clerks finish reading the bill aloud on the floor.
We will move into debate. Democrats will have 10 hours. Republicans will have 10 if they so choose. I would assume Democrats take all 10 of their hours. Republicans may take a few to continue to make the case for this great piece of legislation. And then after that, we'll start voting. So I will actually be in the chair tonight. I am signed up between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. So if anyone is bored or needs an opportunity to put themselves to sleep, C-SPAN 2. Yeah. But I'd imagine if it currently tracks, that's likely when we'll start voting on amendments. And amendments will come from both sides, Jake. And actually, there is no limit to how many people can bring. So I think you'll see some fruitful debate on the floor.
Probably a vote on Monday, you think?
I would think so.
Fox News' Maria Bartiromo on Sunday asking President Trump if he's confident the bill will arrive on his desk by July 4th.
I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you that. I hate to say yes. I'd like to say yes, but the problem is if we're 2 days late or 5 days late, everybody says, oh, he had a tremendous failure. Whatever it is, as long as we have it. It's very important. If we don't have it, there's a 68% tax increase.
For now, we wait. In another moment from the Sunday shows, NBC asking Democrat Senator from Connecticut Chris Murphy about the record low crossings at the southern border.
Do you give the Trump administration some credit for that? And are you, when you look at those figures, do you think things are moving in the right direction, at least in that regard, Senator?
No, I don't give them credit for that because border crossings are low because they're violating the law every day. So we have a law in this country that says if you are fleeing terror or torture from another country, you can come here and apply for asylum. The Trump administration has suspended that law. They are not allowing anybody to come here to apply for asylum. So it's true there are very few people crossing on a daily basis, but that's because the Trump administration is violating the law.
Senator Murphy deflecting from the Trump administration's resounding success in securing the border, pointing instead to a side issue unrelated to border enforcement. President Trump did sign an executive order pausing most asylum applications on the first day of his second administration, arguing economic refugees are abusing the asylum process, seeking entry for a better lifestyle rather than actual fears of persecution. Fox News reporting just 5,414 apprehensions at the border and only 986 known gotaways between June 1st and June 22nd. Those are the lowest numbers ever recorded. Coming up, jury deliberations set to begin today in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. And Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez greeted by hundreds of angry protesters at their 3-day over-the-top wedding extravaganza in Venice, Italy. 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure, and many don't even know it. That's a ticking time bomb. But here's the good news. You have the power to take control naturally with 120 Life. 120 Life is a blend of great-tasting superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure naturally. 120 Life is formulated with ingredients that have been shown to support healthy blood pressure levels. It's trusted by hundreds of health professionals, and people have seen real, measurable results. You can try it yourself, risk-free, with their 2-week trial. Just go to 120life.com and use the code MK to save 15% and get free shipping. You can track your progress with a simple blood pressure monitor, watch your numbers drop, and feel the difference. They are so sure that 120 Life can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks that they will give you your money back if you're not satisfied. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. And remember to use code MK to save 15% off your order. On Friday, in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial, the defense finishing its closing argument and the prosecution completing its rebuttal. Combs is facing a total of 5 counts on charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Over the last 7 weeks, the defense hearing from 34 witnesses, prosecutors building the case around the testimony of 2 key witnesses, former girlfriends Cassie Ventura and Jane, who testified using a pseudonym. Both Ventura and Jane describing feeling forced to participate in freak-offs or hotel nights against their will. These prolonged, drug-fueled sexual events involving male escorts, choreographed by Combs, could last days at a time. In closing arguments, defense attorney Mark Agnifilo arguing the freak-offs and hotel nights were consensual events between consenting adults. Here now, a portion of the defense's closing, the transcript here read by the Diddy Trial Daily account moderator on X.
What is this trial really about, based on the evidence? It's about personal use drugs. That's it. That and a certain lifestyle, swingers, but the prosecution have used one of the most serious statutes on the book. They've turned threesomes and drugs into RICO, racketeering. They wrap yellow crime scene tape, figuratively, around his bedroom, around all the hotels with his girlfriends. That's a lot of crime scene tape. The crime scene is his private sex life. And Cassie, sex trafficking your girlfriend? That only applies to if you're forcing prostitution. She made a choice, and she left. And guess what happened? Nothing. She always could have left. Pick a message from 2018. These two loved each other. If racketeering conspiracy had an opposite, it was this relationship.
On rebuttal, Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey arguing the defense spent, quote, a whole lot of energy trying to blame Combs's victims and the U.S. government for his lies, his threats, and for his inexcusable behavior. Make no mistake, she continued, this trial was about how, in Sean Combs's world, no was never an option. Throughout the trial, prosecutors repeatedly showing the jury security camera footage of the 2016 incident at the Intercontinental Hotel, with Cassie Ventura allegedly attempting to flee a freak-off. In footage that is hard to watch, Combs is seen in a towel, shoving Ventura to the floor, kicking her, and dragging her from the Intercontinental hallways back into the hotel room. The defense pointing out that Combs is not charged with domestic abuse here, a charge that has passed its statute of limitations in California. Again, a reading here from the Diddy Trial Daily X account.
The domestic violence, we own it. We didn't ask Miss Ventura about being hit, kicked, or dragged. We didn't cross Jane on that either. But domestic violence isn't being charged. If it were, he would have pled guilty to that because he did that. But racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, kidnapping, bribery, he didn't do that.
In the government's rebuttal, Assistant U.S. Attorney Comey telling the jury sex trafficking involves getting someone to say yes to sex through illegal means like force, fraud, or coercion. Comey telling the jury, quote, when violence is paired with unwanted commercial sex, it turns into trafficking. Being a domestic abuser is not a defense to sex trafficking. If part of the abuse is making your partner participate in a commercial sex act, you are guilty of sex trafficking. Comey telling the jury they only need to find one freak-off or hotel night was sex trafficking to convict, meaning even if only one of the freak-offs was non-consensual, then that's enough to find Combs guilty. The defense making the case that the jury should acquit Combs on the 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, which seem the easiest counts on which to convict, and also arguing there was no racketeering conspiracy.
Only 2 escorts testified. Neither admitted prostitution. They were paid for their time. That's legal. Porn actors are paid to have sex. That's legal. Combs thought this was legal. Racketeering? An enterprise needs organization. Only Combs was charged. No testimony of co-conspirators. So no racketeering. Maybe conspiracy, but no co-conspirators? KK? She was helpful. She was an assistant, but she wasn't a criminal. No evidence of anyone else involved.
The prosecutor concluding in rebuttal, quote, for 20 years, the defendant got away with his crimes. That ends in this courtroom. The defendant is not a god. He is a person. And in this courtroom, he stands equal before the law. Overwhelming evidence proves his guilt. It is time to hold him accountable. The jury set to return to the courtroom this morning. The judge will provide jury instructions, and then deliberations are set to begin. We'll be going live on our YouTube feed as soon as we have a verdict. The Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez 3-day wedding concluding Saturday evening in Venice, Italy. Bezos, one of the wealthiest men in the world, and his bride reportedly began their love affair in 2018 while still legally married to other people. More than 200 celebrities attended the weekend's events, including self-described astronaut Gayle King, Oprah, Kim and Khloe Kardashian, Kendall and Kris Jenner, Tom Brady, Sydney Sweeney, and more. You know, all their closest friends, obviously. Ford magazine estimating the weekend set the billionaire back by approximately $25 million, hardly a rounding error for him. CNN reporting it was more like $55 million, just a drop in the bucket of the Amazon founder's estimated $237 billion net worth. Hundreds protesting the event throughout the weekend. Demonstrators waving signs ranging from "Kisses yes, Bezos no" to the "1% ruins the world" signs. This, as days earlier, the couple's yacht overflowed foam into the Mediterranean from their half-naked foam party in their ship's pool. CNN reporting a group called No Space for Bezos planned a Saturday blockade of the canals near where the couple planned to hold a party, with the group taking credit for forcing a change in venue to a less picturesque shipyard. The bride and groom, moments after saying their I do's, dropping their photos on the cover of Vogue, of course. Vogue readers who fancy themselves woke, anti-oligarchy types recoiled with posts online reading, "I didn't realize you could just buy a cover now," and "read the effing room." Instead, the couple would prefer, presumably, that everyone ignore how this relationship began and celebrate the higher love they had their guests sing, thanks Whitney Houston, just after they took their vows. Ah. And that'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for the Megyn Kelly Show, live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and on all podcast platforms.